5 minutes till curtain.
Thank you,
Thank you,
five. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our fifth installment of ZooMatinee.
It is Sunday, May 24th, and it's Memorial Day weekend. And we want to take this time to thank the people who have served and who cannot celebrate with us today. Just take the time to thank everybody out there. And if you've lost someone, we understand this is kind of the day to take some time and bring them back into your life for a moment. So without any further ado, I'll move on to our show. Luckily, we're doing another Shakespeare this week. So as you might know, this is a partnership between 171 Cedar Art Center and Elmira Little Theater. My name is Mitchell Hurricane Smith, and yes, Hurricane is my real middle name. I am the Marketing and Development Manager at 171 Cedar Art Center, and I also serve as the Treasurer for Elmira Little Theater. Like I said, this week we are doing another Shakespeare, and without any further ado, I'm going to bring on my cohort and co-creator of ZooMatinee, Angela Daniels, who will be acting in this week's performance.
Hi, Mitchell.
Welcome,
Hi,
Angela.
everybody. Thank you. We're so excited to be here today.
Yeah. So before we get into this first scene, I'm going to let you go ahead and take over and help set it up for people who I think everybody will be familiar with what we're going to do first today.
I hope so. Sure. So our first scene today is probably one of the most famous scenes in all of drama. It's from Hamlet, and this is the scene where Hamlet begins with his very famous "to be or not to be" speech. And a lot of people think of this speech as Hamlet almost contemplating suicide, and that's not necessarily where we interpret Hamlet to be coming from in this scene. Hamlet has just suffered through the loss of his father, and then shortly thereafter he sees the ghost of his father who tells him that he was murdered, and he asks his son to avenge his death by killing his uncle, who was his father's murderer. So Hamlet really struggles with this, and he really struggles with how he moves forward from this. And so this speech is all about Hamlet's grief and his angst and depression and just the immense amount of difficulty he has making this decision. He's already started to try and convince the people around him that he is mad as he's working through this. And he slowly is destroying pretty much all of his relationships. In this, just prior to this scene, Ophelia is with her father and King Claudius, the uncle, and they have decided that Hamlet is going mad because of his love for Ophelia. So they have set Hamlet up for a conversation with Ophelia, and Ophelia says, no, he's not going mad. He's okay. He's fine. And this is where we come into this scene. So Hamlet is working through his own feelings and his own difficulties, and then he has to confront Ophelia, and that's where we enter the scene. Today we want to introduce Lucy Campbell Weber, who joins us today. Lucy sings with the Seattle Opera, and so we are thrilled to have her. She will be playing the part of Hamlet this afternoon.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep. No, more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub, for in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life, for who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pains of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin? Who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no travelers return, puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others we know not of. Thus, conscience does make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied over with pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pith and moment with this regard their currents turn awry and lose the name of action. Soft you now, the fair Ophelia. Nymph in thy orisons, may my sins be remembered.
Good my lord, how does your honor for this many a day?
I humbly thank you. Well.
My lord, I have remembrances of yours that I have longed long to redeliver.
No.
I pray you now receive them.
No, I never gave you aught.
My honored lord, you know right well you did, and with them words of so sweet breath composed as made the things more rich, their perfume lost. Take these again, for to the noble mind rich gifts wax poor when givers prove unkind. There, my lord.
Are you honest?
My lord?
Are you fair?
What means your lordship?
That if you be honest and fair, your honesty should admit no discourse to your beauty.
Could beauty, my lord, have better commerce than with honesty?
Aye, truly, for the power of beauty will sooner transform honesty from what it is to a bawd than the force of honesty can translate beauty into his likeness. This was sometime a paradox, but now the time gives it proof. I did love you once.
Indeed, my lord, you made me believe so.
You should not have believed me, for virtue cannot inoculate our old stock, but we shall relish of it. I loved you not.
I was the more deceived.
Get thee to a nunnery. Why wouldst thou be a breeder of sinners? I myself am indifferent, honest, but yet I could accuse me of such things that it were better my mother had not borne me. I am very proud, revengeful, ambitious, with more offenses at my beck than I have thoughts to put them in, imagination to give them shape, or time to act them in. What should such fellows as I do, crawling between earth and heaven? Get thee to a nunnery. Where is your father?
At home, my lord.
Let the doors be shut upon him, that he may play the fool in nowhere but in his own house. Farewell.
Oh, help him, sweet heavens.
If thou dost marry, I'll give thee this plague for thy dowry. Be thou as chaste as ice, as pure as snow. Thou shalt not escape calumny. Get thee to a nunnery, go. Or, if thou wilt needs marry a fool. Marry a fool, for wise men know well enough what you make of them. To a nunnery go, and quickly too. Farewell.
Oh, heavenly powers, restore him.
I have heard of your paintings too well enough. God has given you one face, and you make it another. You jig, you amble, you lisp, and you nickname God's creatures, and make your wantonness, your ignorance. I'll say no more on it. It hath made me mad. I'll say no more marriages. All that are married, all but one shall live. The rest shall keep as they are. To a nunnery, go.
What a noble mind is here o'erthrown. The courtiers, the soldiers, the scholars, eye, tongue, sword, the expectancy and rose of the fair state, the glass of fashion, the mold of form, the observed of all observers, quite down, and I of ladies most deject and wretched, that sucked the honey of his music vows. Now see that noble and most sovereign reason, like sweet bells jangled out of tune and harsh, that unmatched form and feature of blown youth blasted with ecstasy, oh, woe is me, to have seen what I have seen, see what I see.
Bravo, indeed. Thank you, FLX Gibbs. And speaking of FLX Gibbs, we are moving our Urban Arts Crawl to FLX Gibbs this Tuesday, where you will be able to see it live, and I'll be there. um, I'm going to bring back Angela Daniels, and also our special guest for today, Lucy Campbell Weber.
Hello.
We have a couple of comments that have come through. Get thee to a nunnery.
Thanks a lot.
We got Irwindale Brown from Elmira College Department of Theater with us today. So
Hi,
glad to have you here.
Thanks for being here.
So, I mean, that is probably, if not the most famous scene for Shakespeare, well, obviously it's probably the most famous scene for Shakespeare, but one of the most famous scenes in theater together.
Absolutely.
So there's probably a lot of pressure taking something on like that, and I'm just curious how you decided who was going to play who, and how you decided to even take this role on.
Angela, do you want? Okay. So we, Angela and I go way back, and we actually have been just chatting since this whole pandemic started. I mean, even before then, but we kind of just thought, oh, wouldn't it be fun if we just played around with some scenes? And then I said, oh, what if we got our old acting coach, Frank Garish, to just play with us? And Angela said, oh, that would be fun. So then he said yes, magically. And he started suggesting that we do these scenes, and he put Hamlet out there, like with so many other scenes. And we read through each of them. And, you know, after reading through Hamlet, it just really struck me that it's so applicable to what we're all kind of feeling now. We're all in this situation where we're stuck, and we can't take action. And there's a lot of grief going on right now, and depression and sorrow and rage. And I think that really struck with me, that that's all in Hamlet. And what Hamlet is feeling is this universal thing where you're under a weight of something so big that you sometimes, for people, cannot function or make decisions or move forward. And I thought that was really interesting. And, you know, how Hamlet kind of burns everything down when he had a task, but instead of doing the task, he destroyed his world around him. And Angela and I really went back and forth on that.
Yeah, and I think too, and we talked about this a little bit last time we talked about Shakespeare. You know, Shakespeare has all these really amazing meaty roles for men, and more, you know, actors are just looking to play the parts, and it doesn't really matter. And this is a particular part that as women we maybe have never gotten to chew on, really, and it was. I don't know an actor that doesn't want to play with Hamlet. You know, I think every actor on the planet wants to play with Hamlet and wants to experiment with this. And we could work with these parts all day. I think we wanted Lucy to play this part. I've worked with Lucy before, and I know who she is, and I knew she would have a really interesting, amazing take on Hamlet. So we wanted to give it a try.
Well, great. So that was a pretty dramatic scene. So to lighten things up, we're actually going to move on to our next scene, which is from one of Shakespeare's comedies. Yes, Shakespeare wrote comedies. I think in high school, most high school students don't realize that some of the shows that they read were comedies because they don't really understand the language. But so for today, at the next show we're going to do is from the show As You Like It. And I'm going to turn it over to Angela again to help set up the scene we're about to go into.
Thank you. Okay, so As You Like It is, again, one of Shakespeare's comedies. And if you have studied or seen any of Shakespeare's comedies, they are full of madcap adventures and missed connections and costumes and disguises and all of that. And that's, it's always very quick and fast and here and there, and people, you know, missing each other and all that sort of thing. And As You Like It is no exception. In As You Like It, due to some political intrigue, Rosalind's father, who is the brother to the king, is banished from the court, and she's heartbroken. And in the aftermath of all of that, she is also banished from the court. So she and her best friend wander off into the world to have adventures. And in the course of their wandering, they decide they meet some shepherds, and they kind of at the spur of the moment decide to buy sheep and become shepherds themselves. And that's how they're gonna live their life from now on. And obviously she has left her true love at court, and he's looking for her, and she's looking for her father. And Rosalind, because she is a noblewoman of the time, is dressed as a man. Her girlfriend is not, but she is dressed as a man. And the shepherds they meet are Silvius and Phoebe, and Silvius and Phoebe are in love. And when Phoebe meets Rosalind, Phoebe decides that she has a crush on Rosalind, and now she's in love with Rosalind as a man. And Rosalind, who has a true love, has no patience for this, and she does not tolerate fools. Throughout the play, she does not tolerate fools. She loves being in love, but she has no time for nonsense. So Phoebe has just told Silvius that she is throwing him over because she wants to be in love with the man that Rosalind is dressed as, and Rosalind is having none of it. So we will go ahead and bring you into that scene.
But till that time, come not thou near me, and when that time comes, afflict me with thy mocks, but pity me not, as till that time I shall not pity thee.
And why, I pray you? Who might be your mother, that you insult, exult, and all at once over the wretched? What, though you have no beauty? As by my faith I see no more in you than without candle may go dark to bed. Must you therefore be proud and pitiless? Why? What means this? Why do you look on me? I see no more in you than in the ordinary of nature's sail work. Odds my little life, I think she means to tangle my eyes too. No, faith, proud mistress, hope not after it. 'Tis not your inky brows, your black silk hair, your bugle eyebrows, nor your cream of cheek that can attain my spirits to your worship. You, foolish shepherd, wherefore do you follow her? Like foggy south puffing with wind and rain, you are 1,000 times a properer man than she a woman. 'Tis fools such as you that make the world full of ill-favored children. 'Tis not her glass, but you that favors her. And out of you she sees herself more proper than any of her lineaments can show her. But mistress, know yourself, down on your knees, and thank heaven fasting for a good man's love. For I must tell you, friendly in your ear, sell when you can. You are not for all markets. Cry the man mercy, love him, take his offer. Foul is most foul, to foul being a scoffer. So take her to thee, shepherd, fare you well.
Oh, sweet youth, I pray you chide a year together. I would rather hear you chide than this man woo.
I pray you, do not fall in love with me, for I am falser than vows made in wine. Besides, I like you not. If you will know my house, 'tis at the tuft of olives here hard by. Will you go, sister? Shepherd, ply her hard. Come, sister, shepherdess, look on him better. And be not proud, though all the world can see. None can be so abused in sight as he. Come to our flock.
Ill will I bear you. Oh, dead shepherd, now I find thy saw of might. Whoever loveth that loveth not at first sight.
Fantastic work. Oh, thanks again to both of our actors. Before I bring them back in, let me talk briefly about next weekend's show. We're doing a double feature from the playwright Horace Hawley. One of the shows is The Genius, about recluse retiree who moves to the countryside to escape being the brilliant man that he felt he was being forced to be. And the second is a show called His Luck, which is between a widow and her friend, talking about the genius that never was of her husband. And again, that will be next Sunday at 2 p.m. We will see you there. And then I would like to bring on first Angela Daniels. Welcome back, Angela.
Thanks.
And then let me bring in our special guest, Lucy Campbell Weber.
Hello.
We've got a couple of comments, but
Thank you.
another brava.
Thank you.
So, before we leave today, let's talk a little bit just about like Shakespeare's influence on your desire to become an actor.
Go ahead, Lucy.
Well, let's start with Lucy on this one.
So it's really interesting because, I don't know what it's like for Angela, but from a young age, I have always loved theater. And I think the language of Shakespeare is just delicious. And I love how it's all in there. Everything's in there. You don't have to create. It's a lot like, for me, doing Shakespeare is a lot like singing music. Whereas there are notes and there's meter and there's time and there's breathing. And it's so wonderful because it just gives you such a rich starting off point where you can just jump into it. And yes, the language is hard and tricky, but once you get it into your body and into your mouth, then it's delicious. And it is one of my favorite things. So I'm so lucky that Angela is letting me come play with you guys today.
Well, and I think too, we talk about the language of Shakespeare, which is absolutely beautiful, but the heart of Shakespeare is, I think, what always draws me back to it. And you're right, Shakespeare, he plays with language in a way that I don't think anyone ever has been able to before or since. But also, everything, we have these big dramatic things happening in these Shakespeare plays, but at the end of the day, it's about love and heartache and grief and pain and joy and sorrow and all of those things that are universal to humanity. And so as an actor, if you can find all of those experiences that we want to play with, and you can find all of them in Shakespeare. And so I think, why would you not be attracted to the master of life and the experiences that all of us share?
Great. Well, I would like to thank Lucy again for joining us all the way from Seattle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. We'd also like to send out, Lucy and I would like us to send out a special thank you to Frank Garish of Los Angeles. He was our director this week, and he also consulted with us. He's an expert on Shakespeare, so he was immensely helpful in preparing for this week. So thank you, Frank.
Great. And before we leave you today, Angela and I are going to be co-hosting a fundraiser for 171 Cedar Art Center on June 6th. I cannot say the word 6th. June 6th.
6th. I can do it. I've been practicing Shakespeare all week.
So our traditional fundraiser, Kaleidoscope, this would have been the second year of us holding the event that we had planned to hold at CMOG on that date. And unfortunately, because of the pause, we will not be able to do that as an in-person event, but we are going live on Facebook and YouTube on June 6th. And we are also offering, if people are interested, they can join a Zoom party. We have 4 options. They're all decade themed. We have a 20s theme, which you can interpret as either 1920 or 2020. We have a 50s theme for that we're promoting for families, a 60s theme, and then an 80s theme. And all of those can be found on the website. And in fact, when you go to the website, probably the first thing you'll see is the Kaleidoscope banner. If you just click on that, it will take you to find all of that information. But we are excited and working on a show for you.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We know we're all a little stir crazy. We all have a little bit of cabin fever. So we have worked really hard to try and find a way for us to all come together to this event that we've really grown to love at 171. And we are so excited to show you what we've been working on. And we really hope that you will come see. We've got some amazing auction items. We've got some performances. We can't wait to have you with us on the 6th.
Yeah, and before we go, I did see that we did get a comment from Frank. Garish.
Yay, hi, Frank!
I'm so glad you were able to join us today. And on that note, we are going to go ahead and leave you with this video.
So join us on